So in this segment, we're going to be talking about certain fisherman, I should say, regretting to vote for Brexit, but still clinging to his anti kind of EU ideology and his kind of confrontational ideology. A lot of these fishermen just don't get it. They don't get it, and we're going to explain it to them. So they're going to hopefully understand a bit better the situation. So Ian Perks, known better than most, the post-Brexit vision that was sold to the British fishing industry by the Vote Leave team and now Prime Minister Bojo the Wonder Clown. Looking out over Brixham Harbour from his office, the fish merchant recalls meeting Johnson in 2019, less than 6 months ago, before the UK ended its membership of the EU or the European Union. He's telling me we're going to have to take on extra staff. Because we're going to be so busy. Perk says, with all this free trade, they're going to want our fish. Asked now how he views the Prime Minister, he paused. I'm disappointed. He replies bitterly. He never mentioned the extra costs. Well, it's not a hard one to figure out. Free trade, having a free trade deal doesn't mean that there are no costs involved. He's still got customs declarations and the lot. And this is a man who's realised that firsthand. To Perks and others in Brixham fishing industry, their current dispute with France over the number of licences issued to French fishermen to operate in UK waters is the latest in a long line of issues to hit business after Brexit. If there wasn't any Brexit, there wouldn't be any issues, he said. We were getting on fine before that, and so a lot of people have asked the question, why did you vote for Brexit then? So because some of these guys got greedy. Perk surprises with a key admission. He voted to leave the EU. I've been trolled since I first revealed this, but I wish I'd voted to stay in. I never realised we were going to incur all of these costs. We were told it was going to be a free trade, which technically it is. We have a free trade agreement. There are no tariffs on the fish. The problem is the other stuff. Brexit created mountains of paperwork for Perks and his industry peers. He says sales are down and costs are up, which is bad for any business, and it's all down to the departure from the EU. And the latest fight with the French threatening to blockade their ports is adding to their woes. He said it does impact Brixham. He said they start blockading the port, we're not going to be able to send fish. Which, okay, this up to here is fine. Up to this statement is fine. Everything makes sense here. But then he says, despite his regrets, he believes the way forward to toughen up is to toughen up towards France. Like me, first of all, we know the UK is in the wrong here. We've discussed that at length. So, firstly, you're wrong already from the jump. Okay, and secondly, this statement he makes here is just so ignorant. He says they want to bring their wines and cheeses and delicacies into the UK. Yes, they do, and we also want them to bring their wines and cheeses and delicacies into the UK. We buy them. We import them in. Let's make it tough for them. He said, let's put tariffs on it. Let's stop Citroën and Renault bringing cars in. Let's make it difficult as they're making it for us, because it can work both ways. And realistically, mate, it can't. And I'll tell you why. Right? You see goods going in, right, from France to the UK, there are no checks. Therefore, you cannot do any tariffs on them, because you don't know what's coming into the country. How can you put a tariff on a thing you don't know what it is? Like, they could say, oh yeah, there's a 40% tariff on boxes of wine. It's like, oh, these aren't wines, they're just boxes, empty, nothing in them, and we don't check. So how are we going to know what's in them? But goods going the other way, from London or from the UK, or GB, so I say, into France, this way, right, you follow the mouse, right, those are all checked, so they can put tariffs on them, because they're checked. They say, oh yeah, it looks like you got a big old box of fish there, yeah, you passed the customs, but there's a 30% tariff that's going to have to be paid on these. What are you going to do? Come on, mate, it's going to make it worse for your industry. If it's a trade war, it won't. The thing is, right, these guys think like, oh, we'll toughen up and we'll start a trade war and whatever, right? It's not a war if it's a one-sided conflict. And that's what this will be, a one-sided conflict, and it won't be us swinging the hammer. Maurice Reed, a skipper on the Margaret Ann scallop boat, said, or scallop if you're American, said a blockade at the French ports could potentially see us lose up to £20,000 every few days. But he believes if Brexit had not happened, the industry would be still facing one dispute or another. Maybe, but they won't be as big as losing 20 grand every few days, would it? You know, he's like, oh, I think we still would have had problems in the future. It's like, but not 20 grand kind of problems though, innit? Like, you might face problems, there might have been disputes over quotas and things, but you wouldn't have lost 20 grand over it in the space of a few days, mate. Honestly, just some of the way these people think is painful. He says it's ridiculous. If you look at the charter and how the quota is broken down, they there's a cut there, but they've got about 90% of the quota. It just seems they want more and more and more, he says. Well, that's not really true, is it? The French fishermen want to fish where they fished historically. It's not about the amount in the quota, it's about where they've been allowed to fish. If you're angry about the quota, you should take that up with the British government, pal. You know, the one that voted to take control of our laws, waters and borders. Yeah, they gave up 90% of the quota, pal. So maybe you should be angry at someone else. But I don't know if you got that level of introspection to figure that out. We've been looking into it. If they blockade the ports, we'll put more stuff through Holland. Okay. Riddle me this, big man. Okay, you are here. Okay, as far as I know, this is Brixham, okay? Alright. Brixham is what? Really South England, right? By Plymouth, right? Torquay. The Netherlands, right, is over here. It's very far. And now, typically, as far as I know of, fish is put into lorries and driven into France, where they'll go from there, right? How are you going to drive a truck full of fish into the Netherlands? The only way you could do it is if you take it into a ferry and then go to the Netherlands, which can be much slower, which means your fish is going to be less fresh, which means it's going to cost less when it's sold, or it's going to be rejected because the fish are already poor quality and no one's going to want to buy them. Like, dude, learned to read maps. I didn't do geography in school, but I can see you are here, the Netherlands is over here, right? It's not going to work. You cannot drive to the Netherlands unless you go through France. And France are the ones who are going to be like, dog, I don't know about that. Come on, mate. Come on, mate. Honestly. Boris Johnson needs to grow a backbone and just say, enough's enough. We start blocking the harbours, see how they like it. It's ridiculous. There's a tight timeline. If scallops are held up for 24 hours, they will spoil. So riddle me this, big man. How long would it take for your scallops to get from where you are, right, in Brixham, all the way to the Netherlands? Because if it's anywhere near 24 hours, it ain't going to be good. So yeah, honestly, this guy, proper joker. Sorry, not this guy. Is it this guy? No. The guy we mentioned above, I think it might be this guy. Maurice Reed. Okay, we'll go down and we'll look at Loic Farnham, 31. The skipper of the fishing boat Sanderling has relocated from Jersey to Brixham because of the wider implications of Brexit. He said, since Brexit, we've been shafted. Okay. Previously, Jersey fishermen could head straight to French ports, but since Brexit, they are required to return to Jersey, narrowing the window in which they can fish. So instead of going directly to France, because Jersey is quite close to France geographically, they have to go back to Jersey to get the fish exported, which, you know, in a real world, that doesn't make sense, but that's the reality of Brexit Britain. So again, when you're a third country, certain rules apply to you. He now finds himself living on a small boat with his wife and children back in Jersey. With his wife and children back in Jersey, he doesn't expect to see them again until Christmas, and that's sad. That's genuinely quite sad. He said, I can see over here how they feel about the EU membership, but in Jersey it should never have affected us. He said, we didn't even get to vote. We've been sucked up into it. I wish things had stayed as they were. I need to support my family. If I don't fish, I don't get any money. Brexit has put so many more restrictions, too many variables. Now, I feel very sorry for him because he's right, but as I think they are a British dependency or something like that. Britain has some sort of rule over them, not much, but the Britain rules over them. They were sucked into the Brexit agreement, you know, the TCA, and things like that. You know, same with Gibraltar, same with Guernsey, same with probably the other isles as well, if there are any other ones. So, you know, he has every right to be angry about this, but that's what happens when you're a part of Brexit Britain, really. You know. Others are more optimistic, mending nets on the harbour side on a sunny Monday morning. Wesley Lowland says, it is true that costs have risen, but so has the price of fish. Okay. But, so, what... Again, it didn't make sense. Like, shellfish trade is suffering, but I'm not worried. The trade has been pretty good. Okay, so the cost of fish has gone up, and you're paying more in customs. So the cost of the fish you're selling has gone up even higher if you're selling into the EU. So what makes you think people are going to want to pay these exorbitant prices then? They're not going to, or they're not going to buy it in the quantities they bought it before, or they're just going to find other fish to eat. Like, that's what's going to end up happening. If it's not financially viable, people ain't going to eat it. It doesn't matter how nice it is. Or they'll just eat far less of it, which isn't really going to help you that much, is it, when you've got a certain amount of fish you want to sell? But overall, some of these guys may regret voting for Brexit, but now they're like, oh, I want the UK to be tough with France, tough, strong, tough. Like the guy in the Simpsons movie was like, I want, tough, strong and tough guys, strong, tough, soft, or something like that. I can't remember how it goes. It's quite funny. But point being is, like, we can't start a trade war with the EU because we don't have the facilities for that. Not to mention the fact that you really don't want that, because if you start doing this, they're going to start sticking tariffs on the fish you sell, and those tariffs can range, I think, between 5 and 30%. So the price of your fish is going to go up by about 30% for EU customers. They ain't going to want to pay 30% more. They just ain't going to buy it. So when your fish gets to the port, it's going to die. No one's going to buy it. It's going to be rejected, sent back. That's going to cost you money. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. These guys are insane. I'll leave it there, or not all of them, some of them. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.